majors, welcome back to my channel. What's poppin', what's poppin', what's poppington? If you're new here, welcome. My name is Breland. Make sure you subscribe, ring the bell that way you don't miss a notification from me, and follow me on my social media at Breland Barbie. I get a lot of people asking me when they're new to my channel, what does it mean to be a double major? When you're a double major, you major in beauty and brains like me. So if you want to be a double major, all you have to do is subscribe. So in today's video, I wanted to do like a real girl talk video because as you guys know, I've recently started working as a medical assistant at a gynecology office, and I have learned a lot. I've learned a lot in these past couple of months, and most importantly, I've learned that a lot of people don't know a lot, and I can't judge because I didn't know a lot a couple of months either, but I wanted to share, kind of enlighten you all on some things that I think that your gynecologist would wish that you all would know to save yourself some time, to save them some time, and also just some tips that'll help your physical health. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So first off, I want to give a shout out to the tweet that inspired this video. The post reads, "I feel like they should have taught teenagers in school about BV, UTIs, yeast infections, ovarian cysts, etc. So many things can happen to our body as a female that is not an STD or STI, and they didn't tell us about any of it." I read that and I was literally like, yes, finally, somebody is telling people. Like, everybody thinks that everything is an STI. Our bodies are so smart, especially as a woman. Your vagina is here to talk to you and let you know how she's doing. All you have to do is listen and know exactly what you're listening for or what you're looking for. So if nobody has ever told you before, let me be the first to say that the vagina is self-cleaning. Obviously, media makes a really big deal of having a fresh and fruity smelling vaginal area. The reality is that the vagina has a specific scent that is specific to each individual girl because of the good bacteria that is there, and thanks to discharge, the vagina is self-cleaning. I've noticed that a lot of people think that discharge is abnormal. It is not. Discharge is a good thing. If you don't know what discharge is, that's the wet stuff that comes out of your vagina. You will usually notice it in your underwear after the day, and normal colors of it are clear and white. The thing that makes discharge so cool, I can't believe I'm saying that discharge is cool, but the thing that makes discharge so cool is that it will change in color, in thickness, and in smell to keep you up to date on what's going on with your body. And your vaginal discharge will change throughout your menstrual cycle. Because your discharge is your body's indication of your vaginal health, I'm going to go through all the different colors and sometimes textures of your discharge. That way you know how to listen to your vagina and how each of the different colors and textures and even smells can be indicative to different health concerns or no health concern at all. If you have yellow or green vaginal discharge, this can be indicative of trichomonas, aka trick. A lot of people don't know about trick. This is a sexually transmitted disease and it doesn't have a lot of other symptoms. So if you notice that you have yellowish or yellow-green discharge, this would be a reason for you to schedule a doctor's appointment with your gynecologist for abnormal vaginal discharge. Red vaginal discharge can actually come in place of your period if you are pregnant. Basically, it's your egg and sperm's way of getting cozy in the uterus lining and then may shed off just a little bit of blood, which mixes in with your vaginal discharge and causes it to have a red or pink color. A little bit less than spotting. It doesn't mean that you're bleeding, and you may even see it and think that you're spotting and so you're not pregnant because this is kind of in place of your period, but in actuality you actually are pregnant. On the other end of things, red discharge could be because you're having a miscarriage. Red discharge can also come before or after your period, or if you're postmenopausal, red discharge could be a little bit more serious and could indicate endometriosis. Because there are so many different possibilities, if you are experiencing red discharge, this is also a reason why you would want to book an appointment with your gynecologist. Next, let's talk about white discharge. Now, your normal discharge color could be white, or it could vary between opaqueness. Basically, it can vary between a really opaque white to a very clear white, and all of those can be normal just depending on your body's composition. However, if you have white discharge that has a combination of cottage cheese texture, that is more indicative of yeast infections. And let me tell you guys, yeast infections are so common. They're so common. Okay, let me just tell you, as a medical assistant, if I know that I have somebody that gives me these symptoms, I'm excited because this is an easy note for me. you do. Like vaginal discharge with yeast infection, that's easy for me. It's no problem. It happens to people all the time. So don't feel embarrassed if you're experiencing this discharge or even the vaginal itchiness that comes with it. You can receive really easy help, or you can even try and fix it on your own at home, because this is something that happens to women recurrently, which means that even after they take medication, they consistently get yeast infections either after their period every time or after intercourse. That brings me into today's sponsor, which is VFresh. VFresh is a women's feminine health support company which offers women an at-home remedy for common vaginal infections such as yeast infections, bacterial vaginosis, and UTIs. They also have a pH balancing wash that is safe to use with your daily routine. They're sold online at vfresh.com as well as on Amazon, and I will have a link to them in the description box down below. If you're not experiencing the normal vaginal discharge that's associated with yeast infections, but you are experiencing some itchiness or irritation, you could still be having a yeast infection. Your body just isn't creating that discharge as a warning signal to you. Yeast infections are not sexually transmitted infections. In fact, they're actually really easily curable. With a simple antibiotic, you can be relieved of your symptoms in as fast as 2 days. And if you use suppositories provided by brands like VFresh, you can get relief from these symptoms waiting for you underneath your bathroom sink. Other common yeast infection symptoms include burning during urination or sex, the swelling of the vagina, pain during sex, soreness, redness, and a rash. Going back to looking at our vaginal discharge, if you're also experiencing any grayish vaginal discharge, that can also be an indication of a yeast infection. Lastly, about yeast infection, you can also have a really thin and watery discharge consistency that can also be indicative of a yeast infection. If you're not quite sure if you've ever had a yeast infection before, it would be perfectly fine to book an appointment with your gynecologist in order to get some testing done. He or she can give you a quick swab and test to see if you have an overgrowth of that bacteria. If you're looking for answers on how to decrease the amount of yeast infections that you're getting every year or every month, there are several things that you can try. First, you can try to decrease the amount of antibiotics that you're taking. This will decrease the amount of good bacteria in the vagina. Some larger issues could be pregnancy. A lot of pregnant women get yeast infections during pregnancy, as well as uncontrolled diabetes. Also get yeast infections a lot if you have a weak immune system, if you have poor eating habits, including a lot of sugar and caffeine. Also, if you have a hormonal imbalance, especially during your menstrual cycle. Last but not least, stress and lack of sleep can also cause yeast infection. Again, if you're having recurrent yeast infections and you continuously get the same type of medications from your gynecologist, you should check out the suppositories at VFresh. And if that doesn't help, once again, a lab test can identify the specific yeast that you have. Okay, going back to yeast infections, I mentioned this earlier, but gray discharge can also be indicative of bacteria vaginosis. Our good friend BV. We hear a lot about BV, and you live separately from your significant other and you have different laundry detergent, you're eating different foods, you have different like body compositions, and you're constantly like staying apart then coming together, then staying apart then coming together. Your body is just reacting every time by overproducing this good bacteria, which ends up being a bacteria vaginosis infection or a BV infection. The symptoms to this are very similar to that of yeast infections as far as the abnormal vaginal discharge. Additionally, there can also be a vaginal odor. The good news is that the VFresh suppositories also work for vaginal odor and for bacteria vaginosis. So again, you guys can check out the link in my description box down below if you are experiencing any of these symptoms and would like some relief. The last vaginal discharge color that I'm going to talk about is clear. Once again, this is just to remind you all that vaginal discharge is normal. Clear is kind of like the normal baseline color for your vaginal discharge, and it will change in thickness and in amount as your body changes. Don't freak out if you have vaginal discharge, and please don't come rushing to your gynecologist's office if you have clear vaginal discharge. It's normal. Alrighty, let's finish off this video with some tips on how you can reduce yourself from having some abnormal vaginal discharge. Number one is practice good hygiene. I actually have a whole video about practicing good vaginal hygiene for your hoo-ha, so you guys want to check that out. I will leave it at the end of this video in the cards up above, as well as in the description box down below. When you're on your menstrual period, if you use pads, please make sure that you're changing them every 3 to 4 hours, because if you don't, that will definitely disturb your pH balance and can result in you having abnormal vaginal discharge. Also, women, make sure you are urinating after sex. That can eliminate you having a UTI. Again, if you have a UTI, that can also result in some abnormal vaginal discharge. If you haven't gotten the hint by now, discharge is your body's way of talking to you and letting you know that something ain't right. You can also make sure that you are watching your sugar intake and immediately changing out of wet or sweaty clothes. Remember, the vagina is self-cleaning. Avoid douches. I can't believe that I still have to say this. Like, I feel like ever since I knew what a vagina was, I knew that douches like were bad for you. You're not actually supposed to douche. Like, that is bad for you. It's actually not good. I don't care how good it makes you feel. I don't care if you feel like it's doing the right thing. It's actually not. Do not douche. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. Some abnormal vaginal discharge can come from STDs, so make sure you are using protection when you're having intercourse. Wear cotton underwear. I also talked about this in my video, and this is for my younger girls. Hopefully, if you older, you already know this, but even if you don't, always wipe from front to back. Front to back, front to back, okay? We have a lot of bacteria going on right there. You want to make sure that you are keeping the good bacteria good and the bad bacteria bad and out of the way. Just as a recap, when it comes to vaginal discharge, here are the reasons why you will want to book an appointment with your gynecologist. Number 1, special color discharge. Number 2, a discharge that is accompanied with a fever. Number 3, consistent spotting, or again, like we mentioned, that red discharge that we're not sure if it's spotting or if it's just red. Go see your gynecologist for that. And number 4, discharge associated with pelvic pain. All right, double majors, I hope this video helped you guys out a little bit. Again, this is just a small glimpse of the things that I've learned while working at a gynecologist office these past couple of months. If you guys want more videos like this, make sure to give me a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel for more videos, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.